What's up, meta nerds? Fighting off a bit of that Naboo blue shadow virus right now. So it might sound a bit funny, but in this video on the Aqualish species, we'll be pulling from every resource available. So let's get into it. The Homeworld Ando is in the mid-rim at grid coordinates Q15 in a system with one sun, while the world is at an orbital position 2, having 2 moons, a 26-hour day, and 342 days in a year. 95% of the surface was covered in water, with the few islands being filled with rainforest and some cave systems, with a 14,885 kilometer diameter. The climate is temperate and wet, breathable for just about anyone, though gravity is a touch heavier than standard, about 1.22 standard, and that extra pull explains, at least in part, why Ando's native life, including the Aqualish themselves, are built a bit tougher than most species. Some of the other fauna we know of are things like the marsh lizards that slink through the undergrowth, mineral fish sparkle in the shallows, clam claws are waiting patiently to snap shut on their prey, birds called flinglers soar overhead, while stone fins slice through the oceans below. Now, all types of Aqualish share a few key traits, with the most obvious feature being the pair of tusks curving down over their mouths, and these are actually sensitive to temperature, while being strong enough to crack through shellfish or used like shovels to dig through swamp soil. And it's part of what gives them their arachnid-like look. Their resemblance is no coincidence. Genetic studies suggest that long ago, the Aqualish had some arachnid ancestry, and that they even shared distant links with another arachnid species, the Harch, who hail from the same area of space. It either indicates that someone was space traveling far earlier than we previously understand, either the Harch themselves or some shared ancestor, or, like we've seen over on Tatooine, that it's another alien species that actually is manipulating these people, relocating and genetically altering their evolutionary history. They tend to stand between 1.7 and 2 meters tall, with skin shades ranging from black to dark blue, deep red, and even green. Their eyes can be black, dark blue, red, or brown, depending on the subspecies, and they age in a fairly standard cycle, childhood lasting until 11, young adulthood through 16, adulthood stretching into 50, middle age up to 69, and then old age in the late 70s. Some hardy individuals make it past 80, and are considered venerable. But perhaps the most famous thing about them, even more than their tusks, is their temper. They are notorious across the galaxy for being hot-headed. Their anger can flare without warning, sometimes over the smallest slight, and xenobiologists think that this streak goes back to their evolutionary roots, as it shows up in nearly every part of their culture. It is true across all 3 subspecies. While all Aqualish share the same genetic foundation, they're split into 3 distinct subspecies: the Aquala, the Quara, and the Wallach. The Aquala are the baseline type, the ones most outsiders picture when they think of the Aqualish, and these ones have finned hands rather than fingers and 2 big, bulbous black eyes. Great for swimming, but terrible for handling technology. And since most galactic machinery is made with digits in mind, the Aquala often stayed on Ando rather than roaming the stars. They developed a deep sense of superiority and especially despised the Quara, blaming them for the thuggish reputation Aqualish earned off-world. The Quara look a bit more like your typical humanoid. They got 2 eyes like the Aquala, but instead of fins, they evolved clawed 5-fingered hands. That simple difference made them much more adaptable to galactic tech and tools, so they're the ones you most likely bump into outside of Ando. They never did shake the contempt of their Aquala cousins, who always saw them as sellouts, and together the Ulak and Quara only made up about 10% of the overall population. But they had an outsized impact because they were the ones out venturing into space. They were a minority of the overall Aqualish people, but almost the only ones that off-worlders would meet. The Wallach are the strangest branch. Some specialists think they're the result of a genetic mutation. They've got 4 eyes instead of 2, one pair suited for daylight vision, the other adapted for night, and their hands can vary from 3 to 5 digits, so it's just so odd to have so much variation even within this subspecies. And again, with that Harch connection, I lean toward evidence that this is some alien meddling. Someone is genetically manipulating these people. But the Wallach tended to live in caves or dark rainforests, away from the others, and many left Ando entirely to escape persecution. They are the least common of the 3, and are often feared and seen as oddities even from their own Aqualish people. And so these 3 subspecies would fight endlessly. And so you combine this, people on Earth have bigger issues with much less diverse phenotypic expression, so you can imagine that when you combine the fact that they were innately hostile, an evolutionary disposition to hot-headedness, these people didn't exactly get along. The Aquala of the oceans, the Quara of the wetlands, and the Ulak of the caves were almost at constant warfare with each other, in part over simple disputes over resources, but eventually it became a full-blown global war. But to everyone's surprise, the conflict ended with a treaty, uniting the three races. But the peace didn't make them any friendlier to outsiders. When a group of human explorers accidentally stumbled onto Ando, the Aqualish panicked, killed them, and stole their ship. From that wreck, they reverse-engineered the basics of space travel, and their first conquest was the neighboring world of Ando, which they devastated so completely it became uninhabitable. The Galactic Republic eventually discovered Ando during the Great Manifest period, and Republic envoys tried to reach out diplomatically, but the Aqualish greeted them with blaster fire. That kicked off the Aqualish-Republic War. It was bloody but brief, and the Republic came out on top, and Ando was forced to join the Republic in 15,000 BBY. They did get senators and representation, and from there the Republic oversaw colonization, creating the Andoan Free Colonies. Still, violence simmered constantly on Ando, so the Republic dispatched the Ando Demilitarization Observation Group. This would stay in effect even up until the modern period, with observers like Jedi Master Jorish Saboath would work to monitor the planet and keep the peace. These off-worlders observed that these three subspecies did share the same language, even if it had a few different dialects, but they could all understand each other. And by the late Republic era, we even get some stats on their homeworld, with a population of 850,000, with those demographics being 97% Aqualish, 2% human, and 1% other. And they imported a lot of lumber and basically all sorts of tech, while their major exports were metals, salt, and seafood. When the Separatist crisis erupted, Ando sided with secession. Their senator, Po Nudo, pulled the planet out of the Republic in 23 BBY, alongside Psi Mirth. But not all Aqualish agreed. The Andoan Free Colonies stayed loyal to the Republic and sent their own representative, Garothan Vagr. This split triggered yet another Aqualish civil war, this time between Nudo's Separatist loyalists and Vagr's Republic sympathizers. The Republic even sent Jedi Master Shaak Ti to help, but in the end, Nudo's side won. When the Empire replaced the Republic, Ando's punishment was severe. The Imperial stripped its resources, set up garrisons, and installed an Aquala senator to replace the slain Po Nudo. That senator stayed in place until the Imperial Senate dissolved in 0 BBY, and after Palpatine's death, Ando briefly joined the New Republic, but Grand Admiral Thrawn had other plans. In 9 ABY, he sent the Star Destroyer Bellicose as part of his feint against Ukyo, and Ando fell under his Confederation's control. And it makes you wonder if these hot-headed people were eventually becoming a little war-weary, because Ando's troubles didn't end there. During the Yuuzhan Vong War, the invaders descended on the planet with an ultimatum: hand over a Jedi and destroy all droids, and the Vong would leave them alone. True to form, the Aqualish immediately turned on the visiting Jedi Knight Dorsk 82, but the Vong ignored their attempt to appease them and launched a full invasion anyway. The Aqualish were enslaved until the war's end, when the Vong finally abandoned the planet. After that, Ando stayed independent and fractured. They never joined the Galactic Alliance, and by 137 ABY, the planet would end up under Darth Krayt's Galactic Empire, and that is the last we ever hear of it. Even if they eventually gained their freedom, sadly, they likely picked up their oldest tradition of turning that violence against each other. And that's the complete story of these odd, pugnacious, Waterworld people. Here are the primary sources used for this video. Please hit that like button, I really do need your help. But most important of all, remember, the alien galactic community sees all wars on your homeworld as civil wars, and the Force will be with you, always.